All right, let's get all of our Facebook friends and family and everybody up in here. Try not to click on any logos that I'm not supposed to. There we go. We got the wheels spinning. 1, 2, and 3. Is that all of them there, Carl? I feel like we're missing one. No, everything
I
looks...
think you're good.
I think we're good. All right. Well, good to hear. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. It is Tuesday night, and it's time for an episode of Building the Broncos. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, on these Tuesday evening shows, Carl Dumler. Carl, how you doing? How's life been? Welcome back. Good to see you. Hopefully things are all going pretty well. Did we all the weeks run together? We were together last Tuesday too, right?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, because then Lance was the week before.
Yeah.
I'm gone next Tuesday, so who knows? It's July. We're enjoying ourselves, and we're enjoying hanging out. But yeah, what's new, man? How you doing?
I'm good. Just getting ready. I'm trying to remember. We're going somewhere this weekend. Or no, it's next weekend. Going to Broncos training camp. Sorry,
Okay.
yeah, I'm trying to keep my week straight here as well on a lot of things. But yeah, no, got some plans in the works, and hopefully, if any of you are going to be at camp on August 4th, come and see me. Send me a DM on Twitter or X. Now, I guess I don't know what you want to call it. That thing. And I'd love to meet up with any of you guys out there at training camp. But no, just excited. I guess tomorrow all the veterans report and they start training camp. Get a couple days with just media, and then all the fun begins with fans showing up. So, like I said, we're back in football again. You know, it's been a long off season for sure.
It has, but it's still eventful. I mean, it must be boring for everybody else covering other teams. I mean, I guess our regular seasons don't go as planned, but I mean, the trade for Wilson, the whole offseason with the quarterback stuff the year prior, and George Payton coming in, and now we have the Sean Payton stuff, the Broncos spending big money. It's been eventful.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the events lead to better flipping football on the field, which you and I, since we have known each other, have not seen, unfortunately. But that's... maybe that'll turn around this year. The fingers crossed. But you know what's better than even been the product on the football field has been the comment section. This community, the MHH community, they're the ones who get me by with what the Broncos have been here. We got a guy like Zach Powers. He helps a lot. Afternoon, fellas. Good to see you, Zach. Hope you're doing well. He says, new helmet is everything I could have wanted when it came to change. Just hoping the white jersey and pants come along with it soon. Yeah, I guess let's just dig right in, Carl. The big icebreaker today are the frostbite or the helmets, talking about releasing the helmets that have to do with, the white snow-capped mountains in Denver, Colorado, which, I mean, that's hook, line, and sinker to me. You mentioned mountains and I'm swooning. So what did you think about the reveal of the white helmets today by the Denver Broncos?
I'm one, I don't really care a whole lot what they're wearing. I care a little bit more about how they're playing on the field, but I like the helmet. I really do. I don't think it works well with the all orange alternate jersey. The color rush or whatever you want to call it. So I'm hoping next offseason we get to see, kind of like they were talking there in the comment, of maybe getting that all white with orange and blue stripes going. I think that'd be a really, really good look for the Broncos. But I think the thing I like most about the helmet is the old school D. I don't know, something about it. That's what I grew up with. That's when I first became a Bronco fan, was when they had that on their helmet. Yep, there it is. And something about it takes me back to those early days, loving to watch John Elway play, Terrell Davis early on. I think he only had like a year or so with that kind of helmet, but still, like I said, it just takes me back to those days. And so for that, I am very thankful. I do like the white look. I think it looks pretty darn sharp. I mean, I know they tie it into the mountains, but I mean, I think they were just kind of going for a certain color. So I don't know. It's like I said, it's a helmet to me. I'll move on pretty quick from the excitement. I think the biggest thing for me was just how much they built up all of this. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like somebody telling you over and over again, like, that was the greatest movie I've ever seen. And then you go to the movie theaters, you're like, okay, that didn't quite live up to the hype.
Don't you insult the Barbie movie like that on here. They should have gone with the pink helmets for Barbie.
That's right. That's right. But no, like I said, just spending so much time building it up. I think they could have just done a surprise, like, hey, surprise, today we're releasing a new helmet. And then if they would have released this, I would have been like, that's pretty cool. But when you spend like a month, like putting out these little promos of, ooh, we got something in the works, something big's happening, and then this is what we get. I guess I get a little bit disappointed in that.
Man, what a curmudgeon. Carl, talk
I
about
know.
the
Sorry.
old D in here. Goodness. No, I love the new helmets coming in here. Things, it's obviously got the rotation in here showing you guys. Thanks to Broncos Media for doing it. I'm all about the hyping it up because we're in the absolute stupid time of the offseason. And rather than talk about, Broncos signed a kicker for the entire time, we're going to talk about looking good. So you know that. I'm going to be rocking a mustache starting tomorrow. I don't know if Natalie knows that just yet before I go on my backpacking trip in the Sawtooths. But I love the new helmet. And if you guys like the helmet as well, give us a thumbs up in the watching the channel. If you don't like the helmet, also give us a thumbs up. So we'd appreciate that. But things that I love the white face mask. Obviously, I think with the Color Rush helmet has like the navy blue face mask. I don't know. I've always been a little bit fan of the slightly the brighter one. Like when the Colts went from gosh, they changed the color on theirs. I thought it looked worse. Like I preferred the little bit older school look there. So I love the white face mask on here. I really like that they went with the sleek stripe design on this. I got to admit that the stripe design that is the pointed and then gets fatter on the back, not for me. I don't like the swooshes. That's looks like Back to the Future trying to guess of what futuristic looks like. It's not so good, in my opinion. So the much more straightforward design on that. I like that a lot. And you took the words out of my mouth as well. I really love the old school logo. They didn't mess with it too much. I like that they highlighted the old school logo as well. I saw some mock-ups without the bolded script on it with the navy blue around it. So I think it looks great. I'm really excited about it. You're 100% correct in your assessment that the all oranges with this are not ideal, but I guess that has to do with some stupid NFL rule where if you're wearing a alternate helmet, you have to be wearing your Color Rush uniform. Personally, why don't we just make the helmet be part of the Color Rush? I don't know. Who cares? I don't know what's the big deal on that. Because if these were in all white uniforms or even, orange tops, white bottoms, chef kiss. Those could be the primary for all I care. I'd prefer the light blue that you can see over here, the royal blue, whatever you want to call it. But these look great. So I'm excited about these. I think they did a pretty good job with it overall. The aesthetic's great, and I'm excited for them to wear it. I'm really hoping it is the Broncos-Packers game on October 22nd when we end up being there, because that would be a lot of fun to watch. And I think it will be a home game when they do wear those. Although maybe they do wear them for a Color Rush game where they both wear their Color Rush uniform. So I don't know. But I really like them. I'm excited about them. And I'm all about change, which anything that we can flush the last, 6-7 years down the drain that doesn't involve alcohol, I'm for it. Or other substances, but I'm for it. So yeah, I think the uniforms, the new helmet design looks great. Is it dumb? Is it superfluous? Yes. Does it really matter compared to the product on the field? They could wear those brown and yellow ones if they were winning 17 games a year. We'd love them. But true. With where the team has been right now, and especially the time of year that it is right now, I'm excited about the new helmets. So Jason O'Neill coming in. Good to see you, Jason. Always good to see Jason. Hope you're doing well. Says, good day, Nick, Carl, and Scott. I hope everyone is well. I'm not sure what to think of the new helmets. They may have to grow on me, and hope the uniforms enhance the helmets. I just like that they're simple going on there. Ones where it's just like too busy. I think all these teams have been going with their old school uniforms, like we saw the Seahawks ones. I know Seahawks are a dirty name in Broncos country right now, but their throwbacks are awesome. I really love the creamsicle ones too for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's just a matter of time before the Broncos are wearing some throwback ones as well. Maybe we'll see what even the new uniforms look like that they got in design here. But I'm a big fan of them. Maybe they will grow on you, Jason. But I'll tell you what will define these new helmets: the product on the field. Right? We will love them if the Broncos wear these against the Chiefs and beat them for the first time since week 2, 2015. We will hate them if the Broncos get beat 50-0 in these ones, and it looks like the Rams game this year. So a lot of that emotional tie will have to come down to, in my opinion, the product on the field. So we'll see. Mike S. says he loves the new helmet design. That's good. Good to see, Mike S. Kevin Gray saying second time evening Broncos country. Nick, Carl, and Scott. Big Mile has salute to Broncos country. Good to see you. He also really likes the helmet. Good to hear that. Mike S. is saying hello as well. Zach Powers getting down to business, saying that the defensive line room is looking a lot scarier after the Mike Purcell news and the Owazarike news. So Mike Purcell, Carl, we were talking about it before the show. We do think it's the non-football injury list.
Yeah.
Okay, so it might just be like a vet kind of list for him somewhat on there, but we'll have to pay attention to that, and what happens with preseason and everything with him will be big, because the Broncos do have kind of a nose tackle guy who has had some snaps in there in Tyler Lancaster. DJ Jones could probably play some of that role as well, but watching Purcell is going to be a big one. And then Owazurike. That's a big disappointment. Year 2 player was, I think, playing a little bit better as the season went on, and he had a chance to end up being a starter in base package for this defense this season, opposite of DJ Jones. Whether you want to have DJ Jones in the middle with Zach Allen outside or Mike Purcell and then DJ Jones with Owazurike. Now, open season for that one of the top 4 interior defensive line spots on this team, which is essentially a starter with how much you rotate teams with packages right now. So not that we were banking on him or anything, but you have one less option that is, you'd assume, an ascending talent. So yeah, the defensive line, I was concerned about it before. This week, compared to a week ago, I'm even more concerned. We've been arguing for a bit, interior defensive line versus edge versus center versus other things. I'm going to stick with it. I know I'm biased because I love the interior defensive line. It's my favorite. And when they're not good, it makes me physically ill. But I am concerned about this unit this season. And that's no disrespect to DJ Jones, who I love. Zach Allen, I'm excited about. I just don't think the depth is very good. And I don't know if there's a true, I don't see any of these guys as ever actually being like a Pro Bowl or an all pro caliber player.
Right. No, I'm with you there. I mean, usually with that unit, it's the sum of the unit more so than a single individual. Unless you have Aaron Donald, then it's just an individual.
I mean, Chris Jones, if you have a superstar pass rusher, one can make a big difference. But
okay. So maybe there's like 5 guys that you were looking at in the league that really make that difference just by themselves. Otherwise, you're looking at the entire unit together and saying, okay, what do we got here? And like I said, with the Owazurike getting suspended, and I know people argue about the whole betting thing, but he deserves to be suspended for what he did.
Just stupid.
Yeah. Betting on NFL
he went to Iowa
games.
State. He went to Iowa State, so he should have been suspended before even coming into the league. That's no, I'm sorry.
That's right. You got to get those smart people from Iowa, University of Iowa going.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
No comment.
But still, I mean, just really stupid. He should have known this is something you can't do. You know, I get some of the other guys that are maybe doing some like betting on college games where they really have no real impact on that kind of game. You know, they might have some insider information just because they have connections to coaches and stuff like that. But I don't mind that as much, you know, especially even if they like go to other sports, like betting on baseball, basketball. It's just fun. I've been a part of that before. I've done sports betting. It's kind of a fun thing. Just adds an extra element to the game for sure. You know, it's kind of like fantasy football. You start paying attention to a lot more games, players, because you have them on your team. But like I said, betting on NFL games, big no, deserves to be suspended. We'll see if after this year, if he can get reinstated by the NFL and be back with the Broncos. I'm not sure because he still has plenty of talent. I mean, that's why you and I have talked this offseason that he could really be one of those kind of make or break players for this defense. If he could really take that next step, he could make this, or not him individually, but I mean, he could take it, help this defense become a top 10 unit for this upcoming season. And so I think they have to go out and sign somebody at this point. I don't think you look at the rest of that unit and say, yeah, this is fine. You know, I think Ndamukong Suh, he's still out there. See what he's still got left in the tank. I know a lot of people have been suggesting Shelby Harris to come back. Not sure if that's going to happen. He seemed pretty upset when he left Denver. I mean, he had a lot of things to say about his time in Denver and not being a huge fan of some of the things going on. So it'll be interesting to see if he would even consider it. You know, if he's not even going to get another offer from another team, maybe he just has to kind of put down that pride and say, this is where I'm going to go. But there's even some other names out there. So I'm not too worried. I think the Broncos can find somebody for a decent price, but I'm hoping they get it done here sooner than later.
Yeah, when teams are starting to cut down a bit, hopefully we'll see some names out there. But good comment from Zach, as always. Naj coming in with a 1999. Thank you so much, Naj. Says, hey, brothers. Hey to you, Naj. Hope you're doing well. He says, the helmets are nice. Really would like to see some royal blue come back, speaking to me, in some form. The D-line across the board is the biggest concern to me. I worry teams will run at us. Am I overthinking this? Football is a simple game. A lot of times the teams that are bigger, faster, and stronger, specifically at the point of attack in the trenches, win football games. The Broncos, I mean, we saw it pretty much. We were talking a lot this morning about scheme, Vance Joseph versus Ejiro Evero, and people, you know, everybody likes to exalt Wade Phillips, which they should, you know, great personality and whatnot, but Wade really had a simple, stupid defense. It was a lot of man coverage, and he'd send 5 guys, and it was not super complicated because he had game wreckers, matchup winners, across the board, stacking up. You don't have to overthink it too much. My guy beats your guy. I have enough guys that beat their guy. We're going to look pretty damn good. And that is especially true along the trenches. So I am concerned. I think I said it a couple weeks ago that I think this is probably the worst on paper, the worst Broncos defensive line, including the edge rushers we've seen since pre-Von Miller in Denver. So dating back to that 2010 team. We'll see if it plays out that way. But like when you had Von Miller, that's an automatic like on the table. Like we have a matchup winner no matter what. You don't have that. You don't have depth. Your top guys are questionable with injuries. Besides DJ Jones, who again love DJ Jones. Every team needs one. DJ Jones can't do it alone. He needs to be like the third best guy of that unit. So I'm worried about it too. I don't think you're overthinking it. We'll see if anybody steps up. But right now, you look at the body types, you look at the talent, you look at the investments. There's not a lot of premium prospect kind of guys coming in there. And a lot of times, specifically on the defensive line, the ones who are great were drafted early as great picks because height, weight, speed plays in the trenches.
Yeah. If you look, they put out a thing that was talking about the positions with players making $20 million a year or more. Mm-hmm. And I think defensive line was third on that list with the most players having over 20 or more $1 million per year. You know, of course, quarterback was tops. I'm trying to remember what was next. Was it
probably linebacker because you have edge rushers in there?
Yeah. I think
top wide receivers get paid big money too.
Yeah. Okay. They might've been fourth then, but they were right up there. You know, it's just showing the kind of the change in the game. They realize we got to get to quarterbacks fast. We got to get that interior pressure. And if you can find that kind of guy, you don't let them walk. You're willing to spend big at that position. So we've got Gary Palmer coming in with the $9.99 super saying, hey, Carl, Nick, and Scott, I like it. The retro D is a good choice. Go Broncos, buck 'em. Gary.
Buck 'em indeed.
Yeah. I mean, you got it right there behind your head, that old school.
I got an old D behind my head?
Yeah, you do. And it's looking good, man. It's looking really good. But no, I'm with you. I was glad that they went back to it. Mm-hmm. I'm not as big a fan of you got the other logo on the other side right there.
It says champion though by it. So that kind of is Lombardi above it.
I know. And it's the one they've had for all three championships. So it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good that's associated with that one, but I'm still, like I said, just going back to those early 90s. That's when I first started becoming a fan, watching lots of Broncos games, and just love seeing those little bit lighter blue with that, like I said, that old school D logo on there.
Yeah. Just it screams Denver more, in my opinion. Yep. But that's all good. Gary, thank you so much. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. We got Danielle Berry Sports coming in saying, yo to you. Michaela Israel, hope you're doing well. Says, good evening, Broncos country. Got our guy Dom coming in saying, good evening, Nick, Carl, Scott, and Broncos country. Love the new helmets. Hope about you boys. Hope as back to you boys as well, Dom. Denver Broncos for life. Donald Willison Jr. saying, finally caught up with you evening, guys. Well, Donald, good to see you. Scott, and I appreciate it in the morning, so don't leave us too. But good to see you in here. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you again today. Todd in here. Hello, Nick, Carl, Scott, Dylan, and Broncos country. We got Lawrence coming in. Do we even call it a tweet anymore? I don't know. That's whatever. It's kind of like HBO going from HBO to HBO Max to Max. Like, it's such a strong brand name, and like knowing the brand name is so much of the battle. Why change? I don't know. I'm not a businessman. I'm just here to talk ball. Roy Osborne, good evening, Carl, Nick, and Scott. Can't watch Broncos for breakfast live anymore, but I watched it when I got home. Well, that's good to hear, Roy. You can always comment in after the fact as well. Roy also really likes the helmet. That's good to hear. D changes coming Ridley saying, big fan of the show, 11-6. I like that. Says Broncos country, MHH for life. Excited about that. Good to see you. Lawrence also said agree. Didn't like it when they said it was with the orange jerseys. The fact they wouldn't stick with snow or ice is getting me crazy. Yeah, I hope that I hope they can go with the white eventually. And I think it has to do with because of NFL rules that they didn't go with a orange top, white bottom look or an all white look. So It's coming. I think these rules are going to get a little bit more sleek, especially the fact that they have to change it is dumb to me because like I feel like the NFL is giving up on money and like people talking about it as well. Like you should be able to flip these. Like how much money has Oregon made from all these and notoriety from these different uniform changes? I mean, some of them are butt ugly, but some of them are incredible. That these rules, I don't know. I have to talk to like an equipment person to get it in there. But I'm happy about it. And like Free Earth Citizen says, finally a white helmet makes the old school look even better. Agreed. EDJ says the helmet is okay, not bad, not great. Well, we'll take that because I feel like a lot of times people meet change with it's hideous and have not seen that one so much. Bradley says, looks like just a new white helmet with the logos added. Honestly, it's not very different from the Color Rush helmet other than it's a white version of it with a white face mask as well. I like it better than the navy blue version of the helmet. I feel like that other one, it just doesn't pop as much. This one pops more, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm ready for the change. And I think also a lot of Broncos country is hyped up about it because it means the change is coming. And Kevin also says, yeah, the orange top and bottom is kind of a killer. Yeah, it's just a little bit too much of a traffic cone for me. So
yeah, I can see that. All right, we got Benjamin Flores saying, evening, gentlemen. Helmets are dope, but if we're not winning, it's all for nil. Need to stack some W's. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Benjamin. And you're right. Like I said, it still comes down to the product on the field. Can they go out there and win some games? If so, like I said, jersey sales be out they'll be going crazy, especially if they change them next year for the alt whites. And like I said, that's why I do find that rule really weird.
Yeah,
because it seems like you're cutting off money for the NFL, which is they're not big on. Like anything that makes them money, they're like, yes, let's do this. So it's kind of surprising when they don't do something like that.
I mean, they took the NFL draft and put it up against the NBA playoffs because they bet on themselves that they would get more eyeballs than the NBA playoffs. And you know what? They were right. More people watch the NBA draft than the second round of the NBA playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just more way to, even if they don't make money off of it from merchandise, like just talking about it, being in the limelight. And that's another reason, Carl, I do disagree a bit about just dropping the helmet for nothing. Now, the buildup is half of it, right? All the publicity, all the PR stuff. I mean, we're talking about it now. So a lot of fun. But Ben's actually, I got to shout out here. Ben has been Facebook user for like 3 months now. And it actually says Benjamin Flores here. So maybe that unleash of the white helmet unleashed Ben Flores from whatever Facebook purgatory you were in the chats. Kayleon Green coming in here. Looks like a new Facebook picture there, Kayleon. Hope you're doing well. He says, yo. Hope you're doing well, Kayleon. We appreciate you. Jay comes in and says, what a butthead for betting. Yeah, that was not very smart of him, but hopefully be better there. And yeah, a little bit idiotic as well from Owazurike. I guess I do have to ask you. So we're talking about the defensive line now, back on Ayume Owazurike being suspended for the year. Mike Kliss added the note that he is suspended not only for the upcoming season, but up until, what would it be, July 24th. So he's going to miss mini camp and OTAs next year as well, because it is a true 365-day suspension, which is a big bummer. Do you think that he is on this team on the roster still, or under Broncos contractual control by the start of this season?
I do, actually. I mean, just one, again, the position's very thin for the Broncos. Purcell, I can't see him being on the team past this season. Pretty much the rest of them, kind of a lot of no names other than DJ Jones and Allen, of course. And so it's worth at least keeping him around, just seeing what he offers the team. But he's going to be on thin ice. He wasn't drafted by this coaching staff. And he's going to have to really prove it, because I would bet defensive line is going to be a huge focus in the draft and offseason next year. Mm-hmm. And the only reason that I think that they would be willing to keep him is because he's on that rookie contract. He's cheap. Yeah. If he doesn't make it, it's not a big deal if you cut him. You're not losing a whole lot cap-wise. But if he happens to work out and spends this entire offseason really working on himself and getting into the best shape of his life, maybe you found a little something there. So I'm willing to bank on him at least being given another chance.
Yeah. I think also talking about it with Scott this morning, if it is replicated like the Calvin Ridley full year suspension, that year of control is going to carry over. So it's like the year 2 of his contract would actually start next year. The Broncos are not out a year of control. So you'd still have 3 years of contract control for a defensive lineman next year. And he's not counting against the roster count as well. So it's kind of like Chris Allen last year, right? You put him on the NFI and he's out the whole season, and he's never even counts against the roster. So that's why the Broncos today are able to make 3 moves, I guess, technically bringing in 2 players, moving on from one, and still having the numbers right, because Owazurike now does not count against the roster total. So we'll get into that here in a second. Did want to say hello to some more people. C. Chang saying it's all right. We just need to win some games. Talking about the helmet. He's with you, Carl. Troy asking, whatever happened to the chat before the show started? I don't know if you're saying that there was a chat going on and that it disappeared, or if Chad did not make the chat in early enough time that there could be a chat to happen before the show started. So I'm not sure, Troy, you'll have to clarify, but I didn't see anything until I hit go live. So I don't know if there was something going on there, or maybe Chad made it late. I don't know. Carl actually was in here before me, so maybe he could answer that too, but I don't think anything was too bad going on. I don't think Chad did what I did this morning, which was wake up at 5:30 a.m., make everything ready to go, type it out at 6, and then not hit the final button. So it's there. Everything was still typed up. It was ready to go, but I came down here at the time to start the show, and I'm like, oh, didn't hit the last button to publish the room. Oopsie daisy. We'll push it 10 minutes back. That's fine. But did anybody else, anything going on notable before I got in here?
I don't think so. I mean, the stream was up when I got in here about 5 minutes before we were supposed to start. Okay. So, I mean, there weren't many comments or anything, so maybe it was just a little bit of a later start, but I don't know. It happens.
Yeah, it does happen. Well, Troy, good to see you. Good to see a new profile picture there with it. Looks like a deer and your dog in the background. Very cute, very cute. Billy Holman says, I was in the 80s talking about the uniform combos there. Yeah, gotta love the Broncos 80s to mid-90s logo and uniform. Jesse Francisco Sanchez coming in saying, Carl, Nick, and Scott, Broncos country, how we doing tonight? With the mahalo. Hopefully I captured the essence of the all caps there. Hope you're doing well, Jesse. We got Mike Mueller saying, hello, fellas. Love the helmets. Go Broncos and go Hawks. Hopefully that's a go Hawkeyes. But we'd appreciate that. We always do love that. Always rocking the Iowa stuff here. Appreciate you coming in. Tyler coming in saying they're saying a lot of the athletes are having. Oh, didn't want to highlight that. I just want to say hello to Tyler, but you're talking about Bronny stuff. Hope he's doing okay. Yeah, Mike Mueller says, being a Hawkeye fan, wouldn't expect anything less from a Cyclone player. Yeah, so I'll love to give them a hard time. Also, for Big Ten news, I saw that Jim Leonard is joining the staff at Illinois. Once again, going to be working underneath, Brett Bielema, who was there for Wisconsin for a number of years. So will be interesting to see how that plays out with them. But Jim Leonard did really respected defensive mind, and we'll see what happens with him. Broncos safety there for a little bit, and I also think punt returner maybe for a few games, Jim Leonard. So shout out to him. Quentin W. Carson saying, hey guys, hope all is well. I can't believe the preseason is only 2 weeks away. Me neither. And the Broncos got some new players for preseason coming up here. Some news today. Obviously, you had the Wazirike. Now he's suspended for the year. But the Broncos news, we do have the Broncos signing veteran kicker Brett Maher, who was kicking with the Dallas Cowboys last year. Had a pretty good time in Dallas until that fateful Tampa Bay game where he missed, 4 PATs in a row or something absolutely insane. But had a pretty good time in Dallas. Better in the dome than not in a dome, but we'll talk about that. And the Broncos also bring back wide receiver Nick Williams. And I looked at the transactions before the show started, and I saw Nick Williams signed, released, signed, released, signed, like multiple times. So he's kind of that on again, off again player that the Broncos have dubbed the flexible end of the roster guy that nobody else is really signing. But hey, round of applause. Welcome back, Nick Williams. You're still living the dream and making money playing football in the NFL. So God bless you. Good to have you back. But I think the most notable news is Brett Maher signed. I'm curious. Okay, so Brett Maher is now signed. Mm-hmm. How solidified do you feel about his positioning with this team now that they finally did sign him versus the, practice kind of, we're testing it out. You're a camp invite kind of guy.
I think he's pretty secured for a couple different reasons. One, he has a really big leg, I'll say 3 reasons. Has a really big leg, which works out well in Denver. Big leg can be even a bigger leg, obviously, in Denver. I think last year, before the playoffs, he only missed 1 field goal from under 58 yards. And then he's got the record for the most 60-yard field goals in NFL history, or he's right up there. So, I mean, again, big leg, he'll be able to, from 60, 63, Broncos should have a chance if they really want to use him. Mm-hmm. Second reason, he's worked with Sean Payton before. So there's some comfort level, and it seems like Sean Payton likes guys that he has at least some kind of experience with, or their coaching staff has some kind of experience. You look at some of the free agents they brought in, they were guys that there was some kind of ties within that organization. But, and then the third reason, one bad game doesn't destroy things for me. Since golf has always been my sport, one bad day on the golf course doesn't make you a bad golfer. It was just a bad day. Something was going on. And I mean, obviously, if he's not over it psychologically, then you got some issues, but he's had an entire offseason to kind of work through all that stuff. I think he'll be fine.
I hope so. I do worry a little bit about the dome versus not dome splits, especially because he kicked mostly in pretty good weather. Now, granted, Los Angeles and Vegas, not bad, but a lot of games in Denver. I know the altitude's good, but it can get pretty cold there, and the wind can really get going as well. And then cold games in Arrowhead as well. So I do think his position is pretty solidified now that they finally, did sign him. But I don't feel super great about it. How likely do you think it is that we're in the same position next season, talking about the kicking competition again with Brett Maher or any kicker?
I think it's probably a pretty good chance. I mean, unless he really goes out there and dominates and looks like a top 5 kicker, it just really never seems like Sean Payton wants to pay a kicker. He was just going through him almost every single season early on in his time with New Orleans. And I think because of his aggressive nature, it devalues the kicker because, hey, if we got a chance, if it's 4th and 3 and I can either take a 52-yard field goal or I can go and try to score a touchdown, I think there's a really good chance most of the time, depending on game situation, obviously, that they're probably going to still try to go score a touchdown under Sean Payton. So it does. It devalues the kicker position. And so unless he goes out there and just completely dominates, I just don't see it.
Yeah. I will be curious to see. I know that Broncos do have Mike Westhoff also in the house now. He's an assistant head coach and assistant special teams coach. And it sounds like he's pretty much the de facto head of the special teams still. I think it had to do with like titles and being able to bring over the assistant special teams coach from the Vikings to Denver. You had to have that title change where he's now the special teams coach because it's a promotion. But really, it does sound like it's still Mike Westhoff's unit overall. And he has coached some incredible units and has high expectations. So hoping for the best there with the special teams and the kicking game. But you're right. Sean Payton's kind of rolled through them over the years. I'm not sure if it's because he doesn't want to spend a lot on the position or if it's because, just looking for that standard of kicker. But things will be different, and we'll have the first new kicker in Denver since 2014, I believe. So predating Brandon McManus. So will be interesting to follow Brett Maher. Hopefully he gets those heebie-jeebies out. Broncos country will love him until they don't. Right. So that's the big thing there. But we'll be curious to see what happens. I love the comment here from Conga Hydra saying, I wonder if Peyton will ask the kicker what yard line they need to make a game-winning field goal try from. I think that they will already have that discussed, and they will say, this is the plan here. This is already all decided, and we know if we're in this situation, this is what we do. Not this running 30 seconds off the clock. It's 4th down. Should we not bleep or get off the pot? No, this is the situation. This is where we are. We've practiced this. We know what we do here. Even if it's like not the best decision, the fact that you know what you want to do calms everybody's nerves, right? It's like kind of like kicking in. It's like when you, Carl, you're a family guy, like when emergencies happen, if there's a flood or a tornado or anything, like you've gone through the emergency planning with your family. So everybody knows what to do when you do. So just memory kicks in. That's what these teams are trying to do with all these different situations here, not to conflate, natural disasters to that. But when a certain situation kicks in, no panic. We've done this before. We know exactly what we're doing here. Everybody's done their homework. We're doing this rather than the waffling and the different parties in power that we saw last season, which just led to an absolute colon blowout of a season for the Broncos.
Yeah, no, we've done that. Actually, part of our adoption process, when they come every year to check on the house and everything, they ask us, hey, have you guys discussed your process that you go through whenever this happens? Mm-hmm. And so we've gone through tornadoes. We've had tornado sirens go off since the kids have been here, which is kind of interesting to see them. What do we do? What are they doing? Like, why is that siren going? All those questions. And we're like, okay, basement, we go. Everybody grab this, and this. We're down there. So you're right. Peyton, he's one of those guys. He is very detail oriented as a coach. This is why it kind of reminds me of like Peyton Manning when he came into the building. I'm not saying Sean Payton's going to have the same impact as Peyton Manning, but again, he has very hard practices from what I understand. Just listening to some other players talk about him from the past, and he wants to work on those very little details to get everything right. So when they get into these game situations, that there really is, like I said, there's no panic. It's like, hey, we did this. We practiced this. You guys know exactly what to do.
Yep. Yeah. So if you have anything like that in, your world or whatever, practice makes perfect. I've heard plenty of stories in the backcountry where people get seriously injured and it's like, well, I've trained for what I do in this situation, not panicking. There's no questions. I can save valuable time. So like, especially when you go into shock, if you've trained it enough, like it's in the different part of your brain because your blood restriction, you have less blood to your frontal cortex. So everything that's a little bit more muscle memory is more likely to be remembered versus the stupidity that happens when people are in shock and you're losing your ability to critically think. So the more you know. Good to see you guys. We got more coming in here. Dylan coming in here. As long as we're not content with taking a 60-yard field goal. I mean, there's some probably situations where that might be an okay move, but that was not the one, especially at sea level out here in Seattle. Jason Neal saying 100%. And Conga coming in saying, I forgot what the Broncos looked like with a competent head coach. There are not many guarantees, and I'm very skeptical to make any guarantees because we said that the Broncos would have better quarterback play in 2022 than we saw in the previous years. And honest to God, it was probably just as bad, if not worse, especially when you consider the ROI. But I digress. I think it's pretty safe to say we will have more competent coaching staff in Denver this season unless something just unbelievable goes off the rails there, but hopefully it's better. The other news here, Broncos do move on from quarterback Jarrett Guaramontano. Probably definitely butchering the name. Today is definitely a name day for this. Former quarterback at Tennessee. Talented guy, good arm talent, but always been not super accurate, not very good in the ability to lead receivers, and the process, has been a little bit questionable. Sounds like a great kid, but he's been released from the Broncos. This is a Jarrett Stidham show now, full through and through. But I think the Broncos brought in Guaramontano. He was on the team like last season. Even they brought him in a few times, I believe. I could be mistaken there, but he's out, and he's one of the moves that allowed the Broncos to just bring back Nick Williams, on again, off again, on again, off again roster, and Brett Maher signed to the team today. So, any thoughts on Jarrett, Carl, or is it fourth string, third string quarterback that you're not really worried too much about here?
I mean, it's fun to kind of watch him in the preseason, see if there's a guy that can maybe show a little bit of promise to stash on your practice squad or keep at that third quarterback spot. But they still have Ben DiNucci. So it'd be interesting to see what he can do in the preseason, if he can establish himself with the Broncos to actually get a roster spot.
Prior to the XFL, right? Had a pretty good time out there.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, pretty good.
So I think he stands a pretty decent chance of making this roster. And especially with Russell Wilson being up there a little bit in age, suffered an injury last year. His running style or his play style, really, you might want to be keeping three quarterbacks on this roster. But I don't get too up and down about a fourth string quarterback at this point. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see when we get a little bit closer to the, have to cut down from 90 to 53. I'm sure we'll have a show on here where we talk about roster breakdown and how we think it's going to shake out for the Broncos. Are they going to keep 6 wide receivers, 7 wide receivers? How many tight ends are going to be kept on this roster? It's a fun discussion. And I actually spent a little bit of time earlier looking at what Sean Payton has done in the past. And I do think he actually is one of the few that really, he's not set, and I have to keep this many wide receivers. I saw one year he kept 5. The next year he kept 7. So he's really like, okay, if I think this player can actually do something for our team, I'm going to keep him, even if the numbers kind of get wonky at some of the other positions.
Yep. Yeah, without a doubt. And we're going to start wrapping it on up here, probably another 5 minutes or so. If you got any questions, hit us up. We'll definitely get with them if they're attached to Super Chat. And if you can't do that, that's totally fine. Hit us with a thumbs up. We got 20 reactions in here, 21 now. Thank you guys. Got the wow from Chase Wellner, a couple loves. Mark Knapp, good to see you, Mark. Hope you're doing well. And Benjamin Flores in here. Hit us with the thumbs up, the heart, the wow, any of that. We'll take that. A care react too. And we got Harold Jean coming in here. I think he doesn't like the helmet so much, but it made me laugh. I'm here even if I don't agree with the comments. If they're clever and make me laugh, God bless you. Harold Jean. Damani Leach's job's got to be pretty hard. He had to take pictures with famous people and spend the rest of the year peeling Syracuse stickers off helmets and putting Broncos logos on. Now that you say that, I do kind of see the alternate Syracuse orange helmet there logo. Especially with the navy blue and one. This is why we got to go more to the light blue. I'm not here about the navy blue, but that's a pretty funny comment, Harold. I still like the white look, but there's just so many football uniforms and designs that unless you're doing something that just is totally unappealing to the eyeball, a little hard to get out there. But we had Troy coming in saying had a super before the show started that disappeared. No worries, great show, guys. Well, now I'm upset because we better tell Chad that there was one here. In fact, take the wheel here for a second, because I see we got a few more people in here, especially these last two comments. But I'm going to message Chad right now that this happened, because that's our hard-earned bunny there, Carl. What's going on? Maybe Chad closed it and then put it on the Jazz channel or something.
Well, Troy, we really do appreciate you bringing in the super chat right off the bat for us. I wanted to get to this one. Lawrence Rivera saying, are you guys worried we kept releasing players without having actual better players at the position than just putting in bodies to hopefully work out? I guess I don't worry until I see the final 53. There's always going to be up and down numbers going. Like you said, Nick Williams, how many times is being on and off this roster at this point? Like cutting the kicker earlier without having an actual kicker on the roster. I guess I wasn't too worried about it, just because you could see about 4 or 5 names on the roster or out there in free agency that you could bring in and say, okay, yeah, they could be okay. You don't have to pay them a whole lot. They're not going to be a great kicker, but they're not going to be terrible either. And, it's the same kind of with defensive line right now. I think there's still some decent names out there that can actually give you quality snaps, that have been very good veterans within the NFL, and they've been cut for one reason or another. Maybe their contract got too big. Maybe they've had a little bit of an injury history, like Akeem Hicks is one of those that's out there. Whatever reason, there's a lot of reasons that a player gets cut. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not too worried about what the defensive line is going to look like quite yet. Now, if we get to the season and it's still the same guys that we have right now, then yes, I'm going to be hitting the panic button a little bit and saying, what are we doing, Broncos? Do you really believe in these guys that much, or are you just trying to save some money? And I saw a comment earlier where they're talking about the cap situation, and Broncos have about $8 million in cap space, and saying something about like, is that enough money to sign somebody? I'm not too worried about it. $8 million, you can do a lot of things with $8 million in the NFL. Yeah. You can sign them to a 2-year deal where the second year is already void. Like you're only using it to have a signing bonus that goes into that second year. And so they can have a lower cap hit in year one. You don't want to do that a whole lot, but you can definitely make plenty of contracts work within this.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we got Aki Dragon coming with the $3 super sticker. Thank you so much, Aki. We appreciate you. Good to see you. Our coffee aficionado / benefactor, Patrick Wiltsey with Lion Coffee Company, coming in saying, Mile High Huddle. Aloha, my Broncos brothers. Good to see you, Patrick. Hope you're doing well. We really definitely appreciate you. Hope life's well out there on Honolulu. And also did want one more topic here before we close out. Justin Herbert, Chargers quarterback, gets a unbelievably massive contract from the Chargers. So he's going to be, him and Patrick Mahomes are going to make it life pretty hard on the Broncos for the next 8 to 10 years. But he signs a 5-year extension. So not a new contract, but an extension on what he already has, worth $262.5 million per Rappaport and Mike Garofalo. A huge contract. Year one of the extension, he's going to get $100 million, and topping the previous high of a yearly contract for a quarterback at $80 million. So big time. Herbert also is going to get $218.7 million in guarantees on his 5-year deal. So Justin Herbert, absolutely monster contract. Really going to be curious to see what happens now with the likes of Joe Burrow's contract. I think the Chargers were smart to get that in before Joe Burrow gets his contract. Right. Also, you have questions about guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Their contracts are now bargains. Compared, I think Josh Allen's like the 10th highest paid quarterback now after this string of contracts that have come through. So we'll be curious to see how the Chargers can build around the team with that big of a contract because while Herbert is a top 5 quarterback, he's not Mahomes. But going to be interesting to follow. But congrats to Herbert. A lot of weird dialogue surrounding him in the draft, whether he'd work out or not. And he ends up in now the highest paid quarterback and highest paid player in NFL history.
So I have 2 questions for you within this contract. Because Joe Burrow is about to get paid big too.
Yeah.
Which of the 2 quarterbacks would you rather have, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert?
It's so hard for me to say because I think Burrow's got a bit more of that it factor to him, like the ability to just like make things happen. But from a pure tools perspective, I think I'd probably rather have Herbert. Also trying to isolate the quarterbacks from their situation. Having Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase is significantly better than Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and both those guys who have missed a lot of time.
Right.
Both their offensive lines have not been very good. So I probably would go with Herbert. But if you said Burrow and you were emphatic about that, I would not fight you. But I think I'm somebody who's going to bet on the tools. Herbert has better tools. Burrow's had a better situation around him, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I have Joe Burrow as a top 3 quarterback because, like you said, that it factor, it just shows up so many games. In those really close games, he seems to be the guy that comes out on top. And he's been one, especially going against the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs have become kind of and the Bills. Yeah. The Chiefs have kind of become that new, and I hate to say this, but the new Patriots, where there's that, the second they walk in the building, there's already some psychological things going on against that other team. They're kind of going, we got to go make some plays. We got to go do this. And sometimes teams start doing things that they don't usually do. And it plays right into the Patriots' hands, at least when they were winning all their games. And you see it with the Chiefs. There's times where teams really have them on the ropes, and it's like, okay, just go keep playing how you're playing. And all of a sudden they change up something for no reason at all, other than we just got to go make some more plays. And it just gives the Chiefs like one big play on defense. And next thing you know, their offense goes and scores 14 points in like 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And you go from winning by 2 touchdowns to a tie game real quick. And so Joe Burrow is one of the few guys that just seems to keep a cool head in those kind of games. Like it doesn't bother him. He's like, I played at LSU, I played against Alabama, in these huge matchups. You think about that LSU Alabama game. I think there was like 8 or 9 players that went in the first round just from that game alone. I mean, Broncos have one, Patrick Surtain, on their roster. So lots and lots of talent in that game. So like I said, that's a little bit why I lean towards Joe Burrow. And it does hurt me a little bit with Herbert. Hasn't won a single playoff game yet.
Yeah.
Even when he was on that rookie contract where you should be able to surround him with a lot of talent, and it's not all his fault.
He's still on the rookie contract because this is an extension that'll kick in.
Yeah, it's true. But I think about that of just usually within that rookie contract, that's when you got your greatest window at winning Super Bowls. And they still, I mean, I think they've only made the playoffs once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Missed it the other 2 years. And again, it's not all his fault. I can't put it all on him. But I think there have been some moments where he's come up a little bit short in big moments.
Yeah. 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 See, if you're asking me, like, I'd probably take Herbert just because I like the aesthetic a little bit more, but it's more of a 3A and 3B for me, with Josh Allen being number 2 and Mahomes being number 1. So, man, the AFC is loaded. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun talking with you guys today. We're going to have to wrap it on up and get on out of here. Appreciate everybody joining us today. Shout out to everybody coming to the Supers. Troy, I let Chad know, so Chad better not take that money. Icky Dragon, good to see you. Thank you so much. Naj with a big time $20 one. Gary Palmer, thank you so much. Lawrence Rivera, always so good to see you. Michael Ronquillo's in the house. Also, shout out to Patrick, always with the coffee subscription as well. We appreciate that. I mean, that one's unbelievable. People don't believe me when I say that. I'm getting some Lion coffee from Hawaii, that Kona coffee. Oh, chef kiss. Had just a couple black coffee for sunrise on top of a mountain lookout the other day. Oh, God, it's so hard to beat that, other than the mosquitoes flying around. But hey, that's, you live with it. But I appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you're following Carl and I on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler MHH. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Excuse me. Follow us on X, the X Twitter, known as X. Also follow us over there at BFB Broncos for BFB Pod. I can never remember which one because Chad took them off the side
BTB.
there. BFB Pod. And is it BTB Pod?
Yeah.
Because it's BFB _ pod. BTB Pod. As well as at Mile High Huddle, of course. You'll find those if you follow us anyway. And follow us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And as the ticker says here underneath, please subscribe to Mile High Huddle on here. Like the show, like the channel, and share it on your social media platforms. We appreciate everybody coming in here. I can see that I am in the minority here with the Burrow over Herbert over Burrow. That's okay. That's fine. Really, if you want to argue that to death, I think it's close enough where I'm not going to fight you.
Right.
So appreciate everybody coming in here. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Make sure you continue to choose kindness and compassion. I will not be back again until Thursday the 3rd. So I'm going to be off for a bit, backpacking in the Sawtooths. Hopefully don't get too injured or get eaten up by a wolf or something out there. But appreciate everyone. Carl, any final thoughts?
No, just excited. Finally, camp kicking off again.
Here it is.
Getting to see how Sean Payton runs a camp. I've gotten to see now Kubiak. Who else have I gotten to see? Fangio.
VJ.
I got to see VJ. Yeah. So I guess I've gotten to see each of the coaches since Kubiak run a training camp, and just to see how different they all are. Last year it was kind of a lot more dancing around, having a good time, a little bit faster pace. Usually they got out of there early. It seemed like, compared to, especially a Fangio practice. And he was like very, we're working on things. We're not having music play. So like I said, it'd just be interesting to see how Sean Payton does his practices, and get to see back to a professional guy running the team.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun for sure. Well, appreciate everybody coming in today. Make sure you guys have a great time this upcoming week. Make sure you continue to choose kindness and compassion. And as always, go Broncos.